What's up, world? It's your boy, Mike Muse, for the Conversation, the Mike Muse Show. I am so excited because I have some club kids in here, old school downtown New York scene, and the one and only who can bring this energy into this space is the Academy Award winning, Golden Globe Award winning, British Academy Film Award winning, and two-time Primetime Emmy Award and Tony Award nominee Ariana DeBose. What's happening?
What's good? That's a long list.
Yo, your vibes.
Oh my God. Thank you. I try to bring the good ones wherever I go. You know what I mean?
Yo, when I see you, I just think vibes, party, good times, old school classic New York, where we just loved and lived, and good energy and good vibes and just dance.
I love that. And that's how I feel on the inside. So I love that that's what you get off of me. Let's hang in that vibration. We need it.
Every role that you do, and I love also just seeing you when you do like red carpet moments or you come out and do presentations. Like, you're just so fun. And I feel like you don't take, respectfully, yourself serious.
Oh, well,
serious about your craft, but like in the presentation of who you are as Ariana.
Yeah, I'm serious about my work. You know what I mean? I think you have to be, especially when you look like us.
Yeah.
Like we it's a different kind of a fight to like progress along the journey. But I don't know. I just think you got to try to let things be like water off a duck's back, and like I think it's fun to laugh, and I like to laugh at myself. I mean, I do some dumb shit sometimes, you know what I mean? But I'm just like, that's life.
Yeah.
It's life.
There's almost a freedom about you.
I'm an Aquarius. I like my freedom.
Yeah.
I'm all about the liberation vibes, like living an authentic life. And I'm a woman. I change my mind frequently. You know what I mean? But I just think
rightfully so.
Yeah, rightfully so. Like, it's part of my human experience. But freedom is definitely at the forefront of it.
Yeah, I feel like when you make an error, like it's just a whoopsie, all good. Y'all make errors too. So here we go.
That part.
Right?
Yeah. I was like, and this was something I had to learn over time, you know, as I have become someone who's a little more in the spotlight.
A little more.
Well, you know, it's like I'm not so much to be like, I'm a household name. I don't feel like that by any stretch of the mind. But I love what it is that I do have. And I just feel like I'm still human. You know, I'm going to make mistakes. Like, just because I have public platform, that does not exempt me from making mistakes. Like, I own them. I learn from them. I keep it moving. But I think to kind of hold our celebrities to this different standard and then be upset when they make mistakes. I'm like, come on, y'all, they're human too. And I don't know. I like my humanity.
Are you nervous sometimes to lean into your constitution? And what I saw so strong about that was when clearly you can tell I've been following you for a while from afar. I've always respected you. I've always respected your work. But I really loved your Oscar commentary when you won and how you leaned into legacy, right?
Yeah. I think it's important. You know what I mean? I think it's important to be knowledgeable about the industry you want to be in, to be inspired by all the work that's come before you. I think there's incredible examples of how it's done really well. Rita Moreno, hello. You know what I mean? Like, when I said yes to the journey of Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, I never set out trying to undo anything that she had already so brilliantly done. It's never about that. But I think you can bring your own lived experience, your own thoughts, your own essence. That's how we move forward, you know? I think legacy is important, and I think it's good to think about what you are putting out in the world. I also think it's good to try new things, challenge yourself. Again, some of them will work, some of them will not. But if we don't constantly try and up the ante for ourselves, for our humanity, for our craft, you bottom out.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're living in times where we can afford to plateau. I think we got to really learn some things and move from there. I don't know. I have a lot of feelings.
I know. I love that you have feelings, and this is the right sort of have feelings for. Audience, Ariana's here to talk about her new movie, Love Hurts, but we'll talk about that more in a second. But I think what I loved about this is that the action that you actually do in this film, I was actually shocked by it. But I think that's kind of what you're talking about, and in terms of true artistry and not being limited, right? Like,
Yeah.
I was really found delight in seeing you choose this role. Because for far too often we don't think women can be action dynamics and play action roles and be action heroes. But I felt like, Ariana, that's why I played the club music for you before you began, because you still brought that vibe. It was still very flirty and it was still very fun, and you use that as a strength.
It is a strength. I don't think that it's not. I loved this character on the page because she is so different. You know, she's different from anything I've done thus far. And again, my goal over the last few years especially has been to try new things and challenge myself. And, you know, I look to this genre, the action genre, and I don't see as many faces like mine as I would like. I've been inspired by, you know, the work of Zoe Saldana and Charlize Theron in Atomic Blonde. Like, come on. Yeah. Like, they built a whole universe around this one woman. And so I was just like, all right, well, let me venture into this space and see what I can do. I do have a dance background. I am incredibly physical. Action sequences, it's a more aggressive dance. So why not me? And I did go in and fight for the role to a point, you know, because I don't know that everyone saw me as being right for this. But I'm so glad that we all came to the same conclusion, because I loved working in the space. And I like that this woman is a little questionable. You're not quite sure of her motives. Maybe you don't always like the choices she makes, but guess what? She owns them and they're hers to make.
And she's fighting for freedom.
She is. She wants her life back.
Freedom looks different for so many different things.
It does. And I think I don't know, I like telling stories that allow people, the viewers, to challenge their own perception of words like freedom. Or words like villains and heroes. I think that's really important.
And who defines a villain? And who defines a hero?
Well,
right? Because a hero to you may be a villain to others.
A villain to others, exactly. And
I think that's a complexity. And that's why I love art. And that's particularly why I love film, is because art helps moderate that, right? And my audience knows, although I talk to actors and famous people, I always say, how does this translate to your life? Like, you're being on the job, right? Who's to say you can't be that forklifter, right? Like, who's to say you can't be that truck driver because you're a woman, right?
Exactly.
Like, who's to say you can't be? And it's so crazy to me, Ariana. I feel like every time there's a female in the C-suite, it's always a human resource officer. And it drives me crazy. Shout out to all female human resources. I'm not degrading in that. But it's like, we don't see them outside. It's rare you see them become a chief financial officer. Why not you?
Why not? Why not? And I love that. And I'm just like, I don't like the word no. I don't. The quickest way to get me to show you something is for you to tell me no, you can't. I just, stop underestimating women. Stop underestimating artists of color, queer artists. Like, just stop. Stop underestimating anybody. When people show you who they are, believe them. Take stock.
Talk to us about how you can still bring that identity to the workplace, to that, because even in this character, you still brought, I believe, all those identities to the character as roles as she was fighting for freedom. How important is that for your constitution and for that to be traded for other people to feel how they can still bring their whole selves into things? Yeah,
I mean, it's, for me, it's always a fine line. You know, I choose what parts of myself to use as an asset for a character. You know, being someone who is openly queer, that aspect of my identity isn't always appropriate to every character I play. But here, I was like, she's not specifically queer, but her essence is very vivacious. It's I think of in terms of energy. It ebbs and it flows, and it goes where it wants to go. And I think you see in the storyline, like, there's an attraction between my character and the character played by Ke Huy Quan, Marvin Gable. And those are two very opposite types of people, right? But they still attract. And I think allowing that energy to pervade her was really fun for me, you know? And I brought a lot of my own strength to Rose, and she gave me some of hers. And I tried to just wield it appropriately.
Talk about the power of flirtation.
Well, it's a strength. I think as an individual, I think I flirt when I don't even realize I'm flirting. I fall in love with people every day, but it's I'm falling in love with your energy, your essence. That doesn't mean that I know you or that we're getting married tomorrow. But I think there is something fun and enlightening in a way about flirting. It's like relationship is a dance. Can you tango, or do you have 2 left feet?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you can feel my energy and we can play ping pong, then we got something to work with. But if you can't do that, then you can't dance with me.
I think flirtation is a natural human emotion, and I think
Oh,
sometimes we
yeah.
mischaracterize
Yeah.
flirt. We give flirt such a negative connotation, but
Yeah.
flirt allows you just to bring the other person in,
Yes.
and then in exchange, you bring out yourself to the other person, so you can do that dance, right? Whether it's in business, whether it's actually the physical form of a dance, right? Whether it's in the form of a scene, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
There doesn't have to be a negative connotation. And what made me
No.
think about that, there was the bar scene for me.
Oh.
You really nail it when we get introduced to you behind the bar. Not introduced to you. There was a scene. There's another moment where you're behind the bar.
Yeah.
And it was just the way you flipped the flip of your hair, right? And so I was like, for me, I got the essence of flirt.
A flirt, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think
there was power in that though too.
Absolutely.
It wasn't sexual.
No, I think there's a natural flirtation that happens, especially with a human like Rose Carlisle. Some people might call it charm. You know, there are multiple words to describe things, but I think I agree with you in every sense of this conversation. I think that essence, that energy, whether you call it flirting or not, there is a strength to it. And when wielded appropriately, it is a strength, not a weakness or anything with a negative connotation.
Is it owning agency?
I would agree with the statement, yeah. I mean, I own my agency, just sort of period.
Yeah.
You know,
Period,
it's
full stop.
Yeah, period, full stop. It's anytime if someone across from me feels like that's the energy they're receiving, it's never meant to hurt anyone's feelings or anything like that. I think sometimes I don't realize that it's happening, and then I have to have that conversation of like, oh,
Same
my
here.
love.
I've gotten in trouble before too.
Oh, my love.
Yeah,
I didn't mean it that way.
Yeah.
It was just, it's the way that I communicate, you know. But I think as long as you know yourself and you're willing to have just the boundaried conversations, yes.
And honest, and he's not here now. I will bring this up with him, Hui Kwan.
Yeah.
Even I felt his character was flirt. That's why I got flirt a lot, because even he was dealing with the clients at one point. There was still this flirtatiousness that wasn't sexual, right?
No,
Flirtation is a charm. It's almost like a charm offense, right?
It is.
And making people feel comfortable.
Well, and yes, because I think when people, or it's funny because I feel like I've heard it described as like, oh my gosh, that person is just so friendly. And they mean it like from a genuine space, and it is about making people feel comfortable. You know, I've heard people describe business encounters like, or even, you know, when you're out with your realtor, it can feel seductive. They draw you in, but it's about that level of comfort. So you make such a good point there.
Yeah. It's sales.
There's a lot. I hope it does.
Yeah.
Love Hurts is out February 7th. Go see it in theaters. But I do
You said
think,
that so flirty.
I can't help it. It's oozing out of my pores, every fiber of my being. But I do think it is helpful. I think making people feel comfortable as they're watching you on screen, it's part of my job too.
Yeah.
So I hope that is definitely a strength.
The reason I felt comfortable going there with you, because I feel like you own that. And so that's why I felt comfortable doing that. And it's a very sensitive topic, but I knew somebody like you could handle that question.
Yeah,
that's why I asked that.
Well,
and I learned this from my friend Cece. I'm going to shout her
Oh.
out. I was having coffee with her decades ago, downtown club kid, in particular, Caroline Concepcion. What's up? Shout out.
Shout out.
My favorite Dominican. We were having coffee, and she just we were having a business meeting, and she just rolled her hair. She took her hair out of the ponytail, and it just cascaded down. And there was no sexual attraction, but I was just like, wow. Like, you just owned your moment. Like, you didn't care about having to have your hair in this ponytail. You wanted to be comfortable as we continued this discourse, and you owned it with no questions asked. And there was something about that where I said, wow, she's powerful.
Oh, I love that as an observation. I think the more people can embrace those parts of themselves, I think we'd all be more comfortable in our bodies, and perhaps we'd see a lot different behavior out of people. The way that I walk through the world, I even with how my platform has changed, it's like I'm still not afraid of connection, and I think that is a part of owning your agency. And I think it's a wonderful thing. Do what you got to do, whether it's let your hair down and let it cascade to feel comfortable in every moment of your being.
Yeah. Were you nervous for this role. And the reason my audience, you've got to see this. And I went, and my audience knows this, Ariana, that I never read a synopsis before. If I can, I avoid the trailer.
Sure.
I want to go in completely blank space. And so I thought it was an odd pairing.
Yeah, totally.
Right? To be,
You're like,
to
what
frankly,
are you doing?
Yeah, I know my audience is thinking the same thing. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is an odd pairing. I didn't see that coming. I remember seeing you guys come out on the stage to present. And then like the first 5 minutes, I was like, oh, this is going to be an epic failure, right? Because I was like, this is super cheesy in like a really bad way. And then all of a sudden, 5 minutes in, I'm like, holy shit. Whoa. And I was on this incredible ride the entire time, and you were doing things that was just so unexpected.
Okay.
And I thought that was, I was like, wow, Ariana's really owning who she is, owning her moment, and not being afraid. And so, but outwardly it seemed like you're not being afraid. But talk to me about, did you have imposter syndrome? Because audience, this is an action film.
Not on this one. I have experienced imposter syndrome on other films that I've made, but not with this one. This one felt very right in my constitution, and I loved that. And I explored that, and I was like, oh, because she's allowing me to fully express and embody my rage in a way. Yeah, we'll unpack that later. But
you got to come back for that one.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I loved that, like, this character got to flip the table. Like, she made this epic plan. She flipped the table and was like, let's just see what happens. And then you watch her as a woman in this space have to observe what the people on the other side, what their next step is. And I was like, that is so relatable to me, because as women, and I'll just speak from my own experience, like being all that I am in the entertainment industry, sometimes that's what my job is saying, okay, A, and then having to watch what they do for B and C, and then making my choices accordingly. And I've gotten so much better at that, and it has sparked rage, and it has sparked intrigue, it sparked all these things. But I thought that was sort of what I was exploring, and that helped me a lot. But I didn't feel any fear. I felt like I had all the strengths that I needed to be successful. And I love that this film is so not what you expect it to be. And I'm very proud of Jojo, our director. He's a first-time director in this space. He comes from a long legacy of being a stunt coordinator and a stunt designer. He's very much sitting in his wheelhouse. He and Key worked very closely to make this film the best it could be, as we do pay homage to like those films starring Jackie Chan, like those old school Hong Kong films. So there is an element of that kind of elevated, heightened space that you're getting.
That's making sense to me now.
So you're getting that, which is
Yeah.
also why it can feel like, welcome to the storytelling. And then there's always a moment in those films where shit hits the fan and you get the meat and the action just kicks in and it's high octane. It's a good ride.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
I can see why that is such a power, why that Jojo, the director, is so powerful in that concept and understanding that is because normally I get annoyed by fight scenes. I feel like sometimes directors overdo it and it's overkill, right?
Sure.
It's like, okay, we get it. Like a car chase. Car
Right.
chases shouldn't be 20 minutes,
No,
right? Like after
shouldn't.
a point I get it, and after a point I realize it's not real,
Right.
right? Like it takes
Right.
me out of it. But I felt that you guys did it just long enough, and because I had a screener, I typically fast forward
through
fight
the
scenes.
yeah,
so I'm like,
yeah.
oh my God, okay, I get it. What happens after the fight? But I couldn't. There was moments I went to do it. I was like, no, they're doing something more interesting. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that.
That's
that it was
why
a stunt that's different.
These stunts are very specifically designed. We had an incredible action team. And the thing about these sequences is it's all storytelling. So you can't fast forward through the stunts because you're going to miss a plot point.
You are.
And a lot of them happen in those sequences. So, and I personally, coming from a background of theater, like when you're doing a big dance number, sometimes they've been called frivolous. But the best dance numbers are integral to the plot. And these action sequences are integral to our plot. So
Woo, we're going to leave it right there. Ariana, I could talk to you all day. Promise me you would come back. Not
I would
immediately,
love
but just
to
at
come
some
back.
point in life.
Please have
come
me
back.
back.
There's so much more we can unpack with you. And I really want to get into the rage aspect of it because I think that's a metaphor for so many things that we're experiencing currently and how to fight through that.
Yeah.
And how to push that. You are dynamic. You are an amazing human being. I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited. And what you brought to this film is fantastic. Audience, if you ever are not really big on action films, this is just different. It's storytelling in such a unique kind of way. And so shout out to you, my friend.
thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. And I would love to come back.
Awesome. Until next time, folks. Peace.
Bubble.